All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Developer Dynasty at Wolverine Studios. Tonight we're talking Draft Day Sports Pro Football 2021, and we have Brooks with us again tonight. You want to say hi, everybody, Brooks?
Hi, everybody, Brooks.
We are getting slap happy. We've been working so hard on getting football 2021 ready to go, and we're excited to show off a couple of things tonight. We want to, as you can see, I put in the chat box. Uh, this is a really good opportunity here in this particular stream. If you have any questions or things that you want to bring up and talk about, as we don't have anything too detailed that we're going to get to. We're going to talk about a couple of things, but if there's an opportunity, um, for you to bring up something that you want to see in the game or see done differently or see, whatever you want to bring up, go ahead and throw it in the chat room. Brooks will be able to respond to some of that. Before we get started, just as always, thank you to our subscribers to the channel. It is a method of financially supporting us and the company and the work that we're doing here. So if you have the opportunity to subscribe, please do so. If you have Amazon Prime, you can get a free Twitch Prime account and a free sub every month with that. And if you wanted to use it on us, that'd be awesome. I want to thank our followers too. We are getting up towards 100. We have 163 now. I think we just have a few more new followers today. So thank you guys for the new follows. Make sure that you have notifications turned on so that you know when we go live. We've been going live every Tuesday and Friday recently at 7:30, showing off Pro Basketball 2021 on Tuesdays and Pro Football 2021 on Fridays. CD Cool, post hello in the chat. Hello to you. Certainly recognize your name from our forums and being a supporter of us. So thank you for stopping by the chat tonight. We're going to start tonight with talking about the improvements and expansions in the playbook area. So just want to bring this custom play screen. All these screens, as you're looking at them now, very much work in process as we kind of finalize things. An option that is new in our custom play, and if you didn't use the custom plays in 2020, you'll definitely want to check them out here in 2021 because it really gives you a whole nother level of control over your team. Again, just a basic screen, just giving the information on the screen right now. But while I go through this, one of the new features on here is the play action option. So, Brooks, you want to kind of walk us through how the play action will impact the custom plays and the simulation this season?
Yeah, so we have two features that we've put into College 20 that we're going to bring over into Football 21, and those would be allowing folks to pick a play action checkbox to turn a pass into a play action, and will allow motion as well for those top 6 positions that you see there, depending on the formation. So the goal is to make it where even given all of the plays that are in the system, if you want to create your own, you'll be able to kind of simulate different formations that may not be big enough formations that we want to put in the game, but are still things that you want to see and run in your custom playbooks or in your personal leagues or online leagues. So the play action is basically a way to freeze linebackers, prevent them from dropping too far into coverage, and keeps them a little closer to the line. But obviously, if you run play action too much, then they'll start keying on that, and it won't be as effective, and there'll be some detriments to that. So you're going to want to use it pretty much like you do in real life as a reasonable way of strategy to keep your defense on its toes. And the motion is more of a way kind of to simulate a pistol formation or trips left, trips right, different things that you might want to do in that play diagram just to get people into different space within the game. And I mean, I'm kind of hoping on the community is going to be able to play with some of these things and let us know what's working. Is the motion far enough out? Is it not moving as they expect? We'll go through first access, our beta period, and we'll try and get some feedback on how those particular plays are working. But those are the two main pieces that we want to put into this custom play area. So yeah.
So while Brooks was going over that, I was kind of just creating a play here, just choosing different options. But you can see, as you saw some of the drop downs that I was pulling down, just how many options there are to create plays for players in the game. And this it really reminds me a lot of the old front page sports football days, where there was building plays was so groundbreaking at that time in the game. And I don't think that that the football games have really done a great job of giving people that option, and with the proper amount of depth to it that Brooks has here with Pro Football 2020 and now with Pro Football 2021. But if you haven't gotten into this, I definitely encourage you to take a look at it. If you own 2020, if you're waiting for 2021, spend some time in here in this section, because there is so much. I mean, it seems maybe a little overwhelming at first, but really you want to get into it and really, I've had a couple of questions on Twitter and things like that about how do I find the right players, for a certain system. But if you look at the player ratings that you have, the custom plays really gives you an opportunity to build a playbook to fit, your players that you have. So I definitely encourage everybody to at least take a look at this. For some people, this might be too much detail, or they just want to play a GM only type aspect. That's fine, but definitely take a look and get into this section of the game a little bit, because I think you'll be really happy with what you can do. A couple of questions.
Yeah, I think the original.
Okay,
the original thought behind the football games was to allow the plays to be built in an XML file for people to create their own. Like, I didn't particularly want to be responsible for creating hundreds or thousands of plays, and so we did it in a format that would allow the community to all contribute to it. And over the years, some folks have, but we felt like we had enough information and enough variety in some of our routes, and in order to be able to do this custom play builder in the game. So it doesn't require knowing XML. It doesn't require modding the game. These are things that should be accessible to most people who want to get to that next level down as far as play design goes. And for the advanced modders, obviously the plays XML file still exists. There's you could mod the file directly, or you can append to it if you wanted to create leagues that had custom plays that were community designed or whatever, versus outright custom plays. So that's kind of how this was all brought about. I think the more that we allow even novice users to access some of these things and create these plays, the better for everybody. It's another level of immersion that we like.
There's a couple questions in the chat box. I know, Brooks, you texted one of them, but you want to...
Yeah, it's, the injury slider is I kind of surprised that we don't already have that in there. I'm not... If it's not already there or buried somewhere, then yeah, we'll definitely surface that back up. I can't recall off the top of my head if we've had it in the past, but we'll double check that. Dollins is asking about the 2D sim and seeing the pre-snap formation lined up along with this. I don't think so. I don't think that the pre-snap, I don't think I'll be able to animate players going in motion. I think when the play starts, they'll actually have already motioned. I mean, there's only so much I can do for 21. Maybe in the future we'll be able to to make the motion receivers animate before the play starts. But right now, it's on my list, but it's not going to make it for 21. But the plays should be viewable in the call play section, so you should be able to see an overlay, or not an overlay, but a little pop up of the play diagram, so you know what's going to happen and what plays look like as you're tabbing through them in the little drop down list. An ambitious feature might be to actually overlay the routes on top of the field, which would be really interesting. It's certainly technically possible, but again, it's one of those things we'll have to look at in the future, as it can get a little complicated, and there's other things that we do want to take a stab at for 21. Reaper is asking about the custom defensive plays. The diagram's not showing up. Yeah, we'll fix that. That's, if it's not already fixed, it will be. That's one of those that we had a few formations and plays that we didn't have the art for that was loading properly, so we will fix that. And will there be a last play section on the 2D engine? So Gary and I were talking about this earlier today. He's in the process of looking at different ways of laying out our play game screens. So if you have ideas or suggestions on what you want to see pre-snap, or what you want to see while the play is running, last plays, next play, or not next plays, but last plays, last results, those kinds of things. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can ping us on Slack, or post in the forum, or post here. I'm sure Gary would love to chat a little bit more about what his ideas are on that particular page.
Yeah, that's a good segue to the 2D screen. This is very much a work in process. It's mostly at this point, it's just in here to function and to show, that we have it working. As Brooke said, that was something that we talked about today. Personally, I don't know for you guys if you prefer, having just the the list of plays. I mean, in the past there was an icon that you could roll over and see the diagram, or if it's something that you're interested in, where you would see a multitude of the play diagrams to choose from, and you can kind of choose your play based on what you see in the diagram, is maybe is more familiar with some other football games. So if you have preferences for this, as you can see, there's still this screen is still to be designed. So now is a great time to either post it here, or like Brooke said, hit us up on any of the social channels or whatever, and let us know. Let me know, since I'm largely responsible for the UI, what you're looking for here, and what would make it an even better experience for you on this 2D screen. Is it enough when you play just to have the list of plays with a rollover so you can see the play? Do you want to see a couple of plays at a time, where you can choose from the visual depiction of the play? Tell us what you want to see, how you want to see it done, what you're looking for, and that'll go a long way in helping us develop a game that you want to spend time with, playing in the 2D mode. That's really maybe my most favorite feature of the game is the 2D mode. So I really want it to be vibrant and come to life, and let you really feel like you're sitting there, and you want to sit there and you want to coach that game out and call your plays and watch the action unfold on the screen, because I think that's something that differentiates our game from all the other text sim football games out there, and it really makes this a unique experience. A couple other things that we've been working on. Bring up the coach profile here. We can talk about this for a minute. One thing that got mentioned in the last stream, I think, was people looking for more feedback from the coaches on the players, and Brooks and Asgard talked about a feature that exists in the college game where there's grades given by coaches to the players that you can access on their player cards. That is something that Brooks will be working on porting over. So that will be a new feature on the player cards. This is a look at the coach card that we spent some time working on a little bit today. I like the display better this way with having the grayed out stars and the yellowed stars, as opposed to in the past where you just kind of saw only the yellow stars or half yellow stars. So I think this screen came out very clean. It's very easy to read with the preferences, and I really like the detail that is in the preferences that are in the game here, and then you'll see the full history for the coach as well. I see a question in the chat box about the 2D screen. Maybe a little preview play box as you pre-select the plays. DDS 20 was good for me individually. Curious to see new ideas too. So I mean, definitely the way we did it is on the table. I certainly am going to spend some time this week here mocking up some ideas to talk to Brooks about, and we'll see how that works out. And then maybe a question for you to handle on this one, Brooks. Will coaches favor certain players based on play styles, like specific prototype players?
That's interesting. I don't think we have anything like that in the game now. The coaches do, like, if they're 4-3 defensive coaches or 3-4 coaches, they'll switch priorities a little bit between DEs and linebackers. So there are things like that they will do positionally. But as far as I guess, and they also rate certain players higher as they're evaluating them, either in free agency or in the draft, as far as AI coaches go. If you're talking about your coaches for your team doing things, that's a little bit of a grayish area, because the coaches tend to influence the results of the game, but you as the user are actually setting your depth charts and setting up the plays that you want to run and things like that. So the coaches don't really affect what you are doing as far as setting these things up. It's one of the big balancing issues that I've personally had with coaches in the game for years now, is that we want the coaches to mean something, but the more we make the coaches mean, the less the actual player desires are met. So we have to balance how that works, and what happens if your coaches want to run a 3-4, but all of your plays that you put into your playbooks are 4-3. Like, what do we do? And it's an interesting problem to try and solve. But we solicit feedback on this kind of thing all the time, trying to figure out what the best balance is. But yeah, right now it's pretty much, you can set your players in there, and then if you have a coach that doesn't know what to do with those players, your team will suffer a bit because of it. So the best performing teams are the ones that have a user who knows what their coaches want and hires the right coaches, and then goes ahead and staffs the right player, or staffs the right coaches, and signs the right players to meet those things. And when you have a coach that aligns with your strategy, which aligns with your players, that's when you're operating at 100% peak efficiency.
And then for people who haven't spent a lot of time on the team strategies screen, there are so many options to get into here, with play calling, the different game planning, the ability to create your own game plan, the tracking done by formations, the play analysis. As I kind of pull up all these screens quickly, that shows you all this kind of information. One thing that had been talked about is wanting to export more and more things, and there's good sides and bad sides to doing that. But one thing that Brooks had talked to me about was maybe having the option to have more charts and graphs to analyze certain things in the game, and we can do all that kind of stuff now with there's so many great charting and graphing tools built into this platform we really want to make use of those. So if there's things in particular that you like to see in a chart form or graph form or some sort of data that you're thinking, oh, if I could just export all this, then I could create a chart in Excel and all this kind of stuff. Just let's just cut out the whole the extra work, and we can build it into the game if you want to provide us with some of those things specifically that you would like to see in that sort of formation, or if you see charts or graphs online and different websites, things that present information in a way that's useful to you for watching, and evaluating the real NFL. We can work on building those things in. We have so many capabilities with this platform that really the sky is the limit for what we can show you if you provide us, the guidance on what exactly you're looking for. Couple questions coming up in the chat box, Brooks, so I'll throw it over to you to answer those for everybody.
Yeah, so LB for LB is, or pound for pound, I guess, makes sense, was asking about scouting. In the pro football game, we do scouting in one shot where you go in and interview all your players to find out personality information about them, and then you can mark them as scouted so that when you get to the draft, all of the significant number of their attributes are revealed at that point, so you're able to draft accordingly for those players you've scouted. And obviously, the better your talent is around your coaching staff and scouting, the better your results are. There's also a combine that we put together that approximates some of your players' attributes as well. So you can kind of look at that for players that you might not have scouted. You could still use their combine numbers to try and see if you can find some diamonds in the rough or whatever. For Reaper's suggestion about player analysis stats, defense, talking about splitting the field into detection areas and grading linebackers and based on yards per carry and that kind of thing. That's the next level of things that we'd love to get to. I'd love to put as much of it as I can into 21. We'll just have to see how much time I have to update those kinds of engine metrics that we'd have to track to be able to enable that. CD is asking about odds. Yeah, the lines will stay. I'll continue to tweak them. I'm using a custom formula for that, and some of the numbers come out really, really interesting, and some of them are less than interesting. So I'll try and see if I can evaluate that formula and make them look a little bit more realistic. But yeah, they'll stay. They're already there for the beta version that we're on now. Team chemistry or efficiency rating. I guess I'd have to have a little bit more information on, like, there's already morale and there's reputations of your coach and there's chemistry issues that can happen with teammates getting, into arguments with each other, and there are things like that are in there. Efficiency ratings, we will, like I said, port over the college version of the grading system for giving players and coaches grades for how they're doing. Reaper's asking about grading DBs on yards per reception they allow and coverage against wide receivers. Also charted catches allowed. That's great, but Ben don't. Oh, so I mean that's another one of those where we're not necessarily checking zones specifically to figure out who they're covering, to figure out whether or not they can be graded on catches in their zone. But we can look at enhancing that as we go forward. How are contract offer numbers constructed is a bit too specific to the dollar. Yeah, that's a good point. We tend to just let the numbers fall where they may, and then for display purposes and some of the screens in the game, we actually did round up contract numbers to make them look a little bit less wordy. But there are also, like, when you start doing math, and if you have $10,000 available and you try and split that up between a couple of different players, then yeah, it does get hard to get down to only the 1K level. Like if we rounded somebody down or rounded somebody up and it put you over the cap and you didn't sign them because of that 1K rounding error, we'd get in trouble for that. So there's some places where, when players are making offers, we'll try and round them to make them look better. But in some cases that won't always be available. So we'll keep an eye on that. Game of the week. Yeah, the game of the week is still there. The predictions are there. We can look at adding more of them instead of just one game of the week. We may be able to add some predictions for, featured games that are, maybe if you have 2 undefeated teams playing, or you have a couple of first place teams playing, that kind of thing, rivalry games possibly. I don't think we have a rivalry system in a pro game, but if we were to do something like that, then yeah, we can add more game of the week predictions that show up in the newspaper.
And I think the newspaper is maybe one of the undervalued portions of the game that people maybe don't spend enough time in. I have it pulled up here so we can see that game of the week and the expert predictions, but just things that come up here, like this quote that there's a source that the younger players are gravitating to a player that the coaches fear could be a bad influence on them. Something like that, detail like that is really what makes our games feel alive and realistic. That it's not just a bunch of numbers and just spitting out a result. There's all these things that go on behind the scenes that you want to take the time and go through the media section and find out those things and pay attention to what goes on there, because there's really a whole life. The league is alive. It's not just a bunch of numbers and pressing the simulation button. So if there's more things that we can do to add immersion in terms of the media for this or any of our other games, suggestions are always great in those areas because they carry over from one game to the other. Like we with the pro basketball game this past week, we showed off a game preview that was kind of inspired by people who really enjoyed the lines here in the pro football game, and they wanted to see that feature come over to pro basketball. So that has come over along with a kind of a preview of each game that would be taking place.
I do have a special request for you specifically, Gary.
Okay.
I know you're planning cutscenes. I know you've had cutscenes in the basketball games, and I know you've got some ideas for some cutscenes in football that even I haven't seen yet. But one of the things that people have been asking for, and a special request from some of our fans, is more cheerleaders. So if you could figure out a way to get some more cheerleaders into those cutscenes, then I think that'll make some of our friends happy that like to play the game. Just to give you some ideas.
That will be very high on the list, I'm sure, from everybody who is interested in the game. I don't know if they'll be happy with the face gen created ones, though. It might not be realistic enough. But I see that we have. I mean, our half hour here has gone by amazingly fast. But I think that's good. It keeps us timely. It keeps us, having things to talk about each week, and keeps the ability to rewatch these things if you missed the stream. The stream is available for, I think, we're also posting them to our YouTube channel. I think I'm a little behind this week in getting the basketball one up, so I'll have to get that up, and then we'll get the football one up this weekend. But I think definitely thank Brooks for taking the time to be here and answer questions, as he knows the game obviously far better than I do. He's really the one doing the heavy lifting. I just try to make things look pretty. I want to thank all the viewers. We have a great turnout every single week for this. It's really amazing how many people give us a half hour of their time on Friday nights here to talk about Draft Day Sports Pro Football 2021. So thank you to our followers and absolutely to our subscribers who help support our channel here. And we are very excited with how things are coming along, and definitely the things we talked about here. If you can send an email through the support system. Hit me up on our social media channels with your suggestions as we work on these things during the week, so that we can come back next Friday and show off some great new improvements. So thank you, Brooks, for being with us tonight, and thank you everybody for joining us. We will see you next week with another stream on both Pro Football 2021 and Pro Basketball 2021. So thank you, and have a great weekend, everybody.